All right, back with you one more time. You are going to get a Baldwin Mortise Lock, the Estate Mortise Lock. And this is a very common mortise lock that you see on the fancy houses. This is the 6320 is for the thumb style. With the outside, you press the thumb deal and it raises that. The toggle right here locks and unlocks that. So what's going on here with this one is it's not toggling either which way. So I'm going to take it apart for you, and I'm going to dump it all in that tin, and you get to put it back together. Obviously, there is something wrong with it. As you'll take this apart, you'll see. Again, going back to the other video, I don't know if you have experience with these or not. This one's for the thumb type. This that does not have the thumb mechanism is a knob or a lever on each side. Now this one I automatically know with no pressure that there's a missing ball bearing or probably spring in here that keeps that in and out. So this one's messed up. Looks like this bar sticking out right here. So this one is been taken apart before. So I'm going to send you one that should have all the parts in it, all good springs. And we'll let you play with it. Try to get it back together. And I'm actually going to include they make fancy jigs. If you just unscrew these screws and take this off, it literally will explode on you. If you go back on my YouTube channel way back, I have a video that's actually racked up quite a number of views on changing the hand because you have to take it apart. So basically, take a piece of scrap of wood. There's two holes. This plate comes off, and you grind the head of one down so that the plate will come off over it, and that holds the spring pressure on this lock. So this is extremely hard to take apart and put back together if you do not use this block of wood. So I'm going to send this with it as well. So basically you find the holes and you find your screwdriver. Okay, let's find the holes first here. All right, screw, and tighten it down. And what you're doing here is you're tightening the hub down. Can you even see that? You're tightening the hub down, which holds this still, and you're tightening this thumb turn mechanism. That's where the thumb turn goes, to keep it still, because again, when you take this plate off, it pretty much just blows up. And there goes my little flathead screwdriver, so I hope I don't need it. I'll get a collection of these little things. All right, so there's always a screw under the label. This one's obviously been taken apart before, otherwise you punch through the label. When you punch through the label on a new one, you automatically void the Baldwin warranty, which you know most of the time it doesn't really matter. So these two screws tight. I'm going to go ahead and remove and yes, I'm not separately bagging any of this for you. It's going mostly in this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws holding this one on. 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. Yeah, that's what I meant. 4 screws holding this on. Now on some of these, before you even take those screws off, there are different variations, and I'll show you on this one. Okay, see on this particular lock, it has this pin that holds the latch in. So you have to bend the pin straight and push it out. And then when you're putting it back together, obviously you drop the pin and bend it. Some of them did not have that pin, which this is one of them. That's another reason you have to set it back a little bit from the block, which you don't really have to. Once you put it back together, you can drop that pin in. You can see here, it's got the hole, but the pin actually is not drilled through. So you don't have to worry about the pin on this one. Okay, so we've got all the screws off. We're going to come along here with a flathead screwdriver, which I don't have, and we're going to very carefully pop it right here. And as we pop it, we're going to notice several things. The guides for the push buttons here. Remember, that wasn't locking. There's something going on here. This post is the guide for your cylinder retainer, and up here is the spring. When you take it off, that spring immediately pops off. This all kind of blows up. But since we have it fastened down, it is not that bad. So we come through here, pop it off, lift the plate off. And before I go to take this whole thing apart, I'm going to hold it up, let you look at it. But when you're putting it all back together, once you get all your pieces in, little puzzle pieces, you're going to angle your plate. Now again, down here, and I'll show you as best I can. Let me go ahead and center it. It's best to center these two right here, because if you look really closely, there's a ball bearing, and if this goes too far over, the ball bearing and the spring shoot out. So while I'm doing this, that ball bearing needs to stay in the middle. When you're going and you've got all the pieces just like you think you do, you take this and you angle it, and you see theirs goes in here, those two go here and here and here and here. So you angle it, you stick it on like so. Now you're automatically, this is pushing down, so you have to take your pick or whatever, or flathead screwdriver, and raise, hope you can see that, raise it until they both snap in. This snaps in and this snaps in, and obviously this snaps in there. Let me see how it snapped. Okay, so then we know when it's flush all the way around, drop your center screw, drop this screw, and you're safe to let it go. So that, again, is my only hint for this. So we're going to take it apart. That obviously will not go in that case, but all these wonderful little pieces right here will. So if you want to watch carefully, you can. If you want to figure it out yourself, you can. This spring is that pretty high tension spring. If I unscrewed this, like we'll do since we're just taking it apart, if I unscrew this screw right here and there wasn't anything holding it together, watch what happens. So the screw right here, or this spring, will pop off, and there goes that spring. Okay, so I'm going to show you how that went. That hooks onto that, the leg goes there, and it goes that way. See, again, we're not tightened down right there. If you hold this and do all that, it will stay. So basically this lock is a big jigsaw puzzle. And again, the only reason I'm doing that is because this is our type of challenge. This is my type of challenge that I get to deal with when people unscrew those screws and bring it in and say, oh, I don't know how to do that, I don't know how to put it back together. So, lots of pieces in here. We're going to start with that spring. I've already showed you. We're going to take this off, which that was pushing in on that spring. Spring fell. I'm going to drop that. That's your thumb turn mechanism. I'm going to drop the spring in there. I'm going to take the cylinder retainer out. This is a very careful piece. When you screw it, it tightens the cylinder down. I lost my flathead. This one feels kind of stiff, so it's probably just hadn't been used in a while. There it goes. When you tighten the screw, it holds it here but pushes this forward, which bites into the cylinder, which holds the cylinder still. And again, that goes like that. And each side has a hole where it goes in and a slot. All right, next is the bolt itself. Once we have freed all the mechanisms there, the bolt lifts out and comes out completely. Oh my goodness. Now this is the toggle basically that when you have the bolt in here and you turn your key, put it back, this will see the bolt sticking out. That, when you turn your key, if it catches correctly, it's got to be under it. When you turn your key, it pulls the bolt. So that notch goes over that, bolt in the thing. So here we have 2 things we can do. Let's go ahead and, so what was going on earlier when we pushed this in, and I'm going to bring it up here because when I push this in, that ball bearing's probably going to spring out. So what happened is, let's push it that way. Okay, that's all the way disengaged, and that lets me push up. And then when you engage it the other way, I'm holding it still again because of that ball bearing. It goes into the slot and it keeps that from pushing up. So basically, if you needed to change the hand or so that this was facing the other way, you would remove this kind of carefully. Sometimes you got to pop this off, so we're going to have to unscrew that screw. But you take this and you flip it upside down, and it lets, that flips the hand of it as well as the latch. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pull this bottom off. I'm going to show you that spring pressure down here. Maybe. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and unscrew this screw so that we can take the rest of it apart. Okay. And basically you put pressure here and lets you remove this. Let's get this out of the way. This one's just being problematic here. When you release pressure on this, like so, see how it's spring pressure? And I'll show you that spring in a minute. Hold it out of the way, lift the hub out. Now this can come out. And again, if you were going to change the handing, instead of it stopping on that side, you would flip it this way so that it changes the hand so that it locks on either one. There goes that. Now this is the tricky part. We're going to pull this one out, and we see automatically the ball just falls out, and there is a little spring that holds that ball in. So when you're putting this back together, one of the biggest problems that you're going to have, most likely, is keeping that ball centered. It helps to put a kind of a thick liquid. So here's your pivot, which that pivot has to go into this notch. So I start by pivoting it some, letting the ball kind of roll out of the way, getting it out of the way or whatever. Okay, now you see you got your pivot on. So then I angle it as much as possible, bring it out as much as possible, put it in, push it down, and kind of get it centered, and then put your other one in. And automatically it's going to push it down like that. So that's why when you're putting the cover back on, you have to push this straight. So again, ball out, spring the ball. All right, so next we have this mechanism. Now this mechanism is under heavy spring tension. So we're going to come in and we're going to pop it out. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. So there's 2 springs in here. This one, if you'll notice that the leg of the spring goes like so, and then this is pushing up against the body, so that when you want to put this back in, you can put it in like so, and then bring it. You kind of have to lift up to bypass all this stuff, and you want to get it right there. So that's it for that. Now that's that spring pressure. When you turn the knob, that pulls that back. So taking that back out, see our latch just popped apart here, so we're going to kind of hold that for a minute. Taking that out, dropping the spring, dropping that. Now our latch popped out, and we see that's fairly easy, but we also have this little doodad here, and that little doodad was actually in there. So that little doodad right there controls, actually we've got to get it out, push it forward, so there. So then when you turn that, it invariably, depending on whether it's locked or not, is supposed to pull that back. So that's how that works. So all this has to be, whoa, there goes that spring. So again, latch underneath there, here, spring pressure that just popped out. When you turn your key, it pulls the latch back. Doot, 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 doot. So, spring. And last but not least, which you very rarely have to take this off, but I'm going to, if you look at that leg right there, that controls the spring pressure on the thumb turn. So, and it has a leg here, and a coil, and a leg there. So again, I very rarely take these out, except when somebody has literally blown it all apart. So there's your spring. It's flat except for that one leg right there. So when you put it on here, you would put it in, put it over that, and bring it around and push it all the way down, and it gives you your spring pressure. So that's what that little spring is for. In the box. In the box. So I could be mean. Whoop, look at that. Oh, let's put that back like it's supposed to be. Remember? Remember? Latch. That just came off. I could be mean and unscrew that. But I dropped my flathead screwdriver. And there's almost no reason to do that unless the screw broke, but it's just a screw holding that in. So, you know, I don't think I will, because I don't see any available flathead screwdrivers in range. That tip was broken, so it's not working. So you got lucky. I'm leaving that part. So anyway, there you go. Does this come off? Oh yeah, that comes off. Ah, look at that. So now you have an empty case. And let's do something like this. This is, in case you were wondering, some doors have an angle, a bevel. So if it's a beveled door, you simply bevel it one way or the other. And then tighten the screws back down. So I'm going to, since I wasn't able to be mean and take that one out, I'm going to take those out. 2 on the top, or 2 on the bottom, 1 on the top. Sir, I went to fix my Mortise Lock, and I don't know if I can get it back together. Do you think you could help? And you get a cool little dog tin. And the board. Oh, and the screws for the board. So there you go. Yet another thing. I'm trying to fill up your box. Think I'm doing a good job? I want to see all this. I want to see all this done in like 10 minutes. 10 minutes on video.